Hi everyone, this is Killshot from 99 Gaming's The Walking Dead Junkies Podcast, number 7, Daddy Negan. So we got some interesting stuff to talk about today. If this is your first time in one of the Junkies podcasts, what we do is we talk about the past, present, and future, and we're going to incorporate a lot of that into today's stream. I do have to tell you in advance that it's not going to be, there's no graphic warning or anything, but we are going to dig down to some potential psychological conditions of Negan and talk about what could make him react the way that he's been reacting. And I know it does go into the bigger picture of what will happen with Negan in the future. Will he be spared? Will he be let off the hook? And I've got a couple interesting, I wouldn't say they're predictions, but I'm going to say they're alternatives or things that we can talk about. I see a lot of you, I appreciate all of you being here on a Sunday morning. Thank you for making time. And also Scott Kernan getting out of the gates with a super chat. Just get that going. So he says, hey, Kills, wanted to mention that Season 9 will be more sophisticated and have larger stakes than previous seasons. Scott, also think that Season 9 will get rid of a few characters. They're getting a surplus of excess characters, and at some point, some of these people are going to have to exit the show. I mean, there's only so many salaries, right, that they can put together in one season. So good morning, Gina. Good to see you as well. Ron Burgundy Moore in the house. I see some of my sponsors here as well. So we're going to get out of the gate. So I got several different bullet points that we're going to talk about. But as you can see from the title, it is Daddy Negan, and I don't want it to solely be based on Carl's dream sequence, but I do think there are some things that came out of Carl's dream sequence and then how that could relate to the storyline going forward. If you're new, thank you for being here. Appreciate you being part of the 99 Army. Got a lot of stuff to announce today. So I'm going to go through some bullet points a little bit later on today, but we're going to start out with, let's go back to Negan and the spaghetti incident. Isn't that a album by Guns N' Roses or something? But Negan, you know, making spaghetti for Carl. He was there with Judy, and you can see there's something lacking in Negan's life, and it is certainly I think he wants a little bit more, and I'm going to tie that into a psychological condition and ask this group here. I think Negan suffers from sexual dysfunction, and what I mean by that is that possibly he's not fertile, he did not have the ability to have kids, and he became a womanizer, and that would justify how many wives he has and his either attempt to display his masculinity or the or he's looking for a potential suitor. Absolutely, I'm going there, Steph. So I'm bringing off the gloves here. Steph's like, what? Yes. I'm saying that there is a reason that Negan is who Negan is. That it's just not some random occasion that he has all these women and has all of these wives. So because of his need to prove himself or to have a child, I think that is ultimately going to change his story arc. I think it's going to change who he is and how he has been perceived by Rick and by others in the future. So we can definitely throw a lot of different ideas out there of who Negan is and what caused it, but he cheated on his wife. He did say he cheated on his wife, and once again, is it that concept that maybe he was blaming his wife for the lack of fertility, and he was looking all along. Not justifying. I'm not saying it's right. You guys know I'm not going to condone that, but I'm saying a deeper understanding of who Negan is and how they could potentially get him off the hook. Absolutely. Nakobe Irby says when he had Sherry take the pregnancy test. So I'm not sure he was just looking for a one-night stand. I think he was looking for that heir, that person that it's been lacking in his life. And I do think that Sherry could, I'm going to go, look, I'm going to go tabloid, I'm going to go soap opera, I'm going to go Tristan Thompson here. What if Sherry is pregnant with Negan's baby? What if it happens? Imagine the storyline with Negan, imagine Sherry, imagine Dwight, the animosity that would be there. So I'm going to pause it right there and just ask everybody's thoughts. These are like, I'm not saying, once again, I'm not saying they're predictions. I'm saying they are alternative theories. That's what we'll call them. We'll call them ATs. So these are kill shots ATs. Somebody called the Tristan Thompson reference. All right. So let me get a few of your thoughts. And if you guys, once again, if you're new to these streams, this is basically our Walking Dead podcast. We do it weekly, every Sunday. A few people might have popped in. And I'm kind of navigating the ship, and I'm looking for some of your comments and some of your participation. You know, I've heard that before, Maurice. Too many babies, but babies are the future in The Walking Dead. And if there are no babies, then everybody's going to die off at some point. So as much as we might not like the babysitter role and the fact that people do have to reproduce, at some point they do have to reproduce. I know people have said, no, Michonne can't be pregnant. No, we can't have that. Why not? We need some babies. We need a future. Exactly. Sebastian Carpio said, people are the most important resources. Well, it wasn't Sebastian that said it. It was Negan, but he's quoting it, so you're allowed. So we got to get on a system here. And if let me ask the question. So let's start bringing it up. If the next plan of The Walking Dead is, all right, we got to make strawberries, we got to make soybeans, we got to fix the solar panels, and we got to have a whole lot of babies. So let me ask you, let's start grouping them together. And maybe we need a calendar. We need a calendar, and it's going to have to be, start piecing them together. So we will do Walking Dead fornication, I guess, or coupling, whatever you guys want to call it. Who are the first two that you want to see make the first baby? Should we go Daryl and Carol? We got to start throwing them out there. We got people already calling dibs. So let's start piecing some of the couples together and see how people are going to be the... All right, Corey says Daryl and Rosita. Susan Holmes with a big no. There you go, Scott Kern, I like it. Rosita and Eugene. The toughness of Rosita with the ingenuity of Eugene. We are shipping hardcore today. Jonathan Nichols called Rosita. You guys are not in the show. John and Steph, you're excluded. Gina's saying Daryl and Rosita. A lot of people are saying Daryl and Rosita. I'm not sure what the combined IQ would be of a child from Daryl and Rosita. I don't know. I don't know that that's people resource that we want. Maybe we should focus on a higher, like Eugene and someone. Maybe Eugene and Carol. There you go. Carol and the King. Beth Brigette says Jerry and someone. Any suitors for Jerry? Jerry and Jadis. J and J. That would be like a sumo wrestler with a bowl cut. Just think about that for a second. Let that sink in. Jerry and Jadis. I could see that. Jesus and Maggie. This is going to be a it's going to be an interesting topic because and keep in mind, remember, these super chats and your comments are all part of this video. So when we get a little casual, just make sure that you're definitely on point. Daryl and Jadis. Okay, I see some options there. I'm not talking about just relationships. I'm talking about creating people. So, of course, they're going to have to be certain standards. Oh, Alden and Maggie. Not a bad combination there. Nabstract says a Michonne and Rick baby is happening. Okay, and I got the ideas out there, so you can see the direction that we're going with this. Let me get back to the Negan daddy theory. So, we know that Negan is, some want him dead. That might be an understatement, right? Michonne and Rick want to use him as an example. And we know that it's not going to happen that way. We know that we won't tune in The Walking Dead. Let's use a little bit of just real life example here. They're not paying Jeffrey Dean Morgan $500,000 a show to sit in a jail cell. So, as viewers, we know this. So I'm going to ask the group here, knowing that Negan probably isn't going to die or they would have killed him already, knowing that Negan is not going to stay imprisoned, as a viewer or as a writer on the show, what's next for Negan? I need your best predictions. Everybody watching at home, everybody watching the playback, either leave it in the chat right now or leave it in the comments. I want to know what you think is next for Negan. How does he get from dead man walking to life in prison to being a part of the show again? That's really what this Negan daddy theory today and what this discussion on The Walking Dead Junkies is all about. And I'm going to call on a few of you, so put your comments up. So, Hippo says Negan teams with Alpha. Scott Kernan says Negan kills Alpha, but Scott can't just kill Alpha. He's in jail. So I'm talking about the step between what gets him into that point. I mean, he's got to be freed. Ron says, helps defend Rick's group from a new threat. Okay, but how do we get to that point? Eurus21 says, good guy will team up with Rick. All right, you're getting closer, but how do we get to that point? Corey says, jail cell until... So Corey says, locked up for the whole season. Whew, that's a long time. 16 episodes to pay that man to sit in a jail cell. That might be a little too much for me to agree with, Corey. Maybe a few episodes. Evan Almighty says Henry will let him out. You guys you're giving me some of the thoughts, but you haven't given me the key to the jail cell. You've given me what happens after he gets out. So Haiti says Negan saves Rick. How does he save Rick? He's locked up. It's a good point. The cutthroat's going to take some time to heal, so that does buy you a few episodes. I can buy that. I can definitely tie into that. Walker Tobin McLeod says maybe Gregory lets him out. Don, that'd be a huge time skip if Gracie... We'd have to have a 5-year time skip, I think, for Gracie could even... Well, maybe at least 3 years. Maurice says Jadis. Possibly Jadis helps him. Janet says Negan escapes, finds evidence of the whispers, and then comes back to tell Rick. It's a possibility. Now we're along the right track here. Now we're getting to the point of what's his acceptance. So I'm going to give you just a couple ATs, a couple alternate theories as well. So I do think Negan escaping is a possibility. But I've also said that I think maybe Negan's lack of power, his lack of Lucille, his lack of being a womanizer, all of those things can permanently change him. And also Parenthood could definitely change him. So I'll throw this out to the group. Do you think Negan, and judging by the picture and Carl's dream and Carl's vision, do you think Negan could sincerely change and be a better person if he were a parent, if he had that permanent responsibility? I know a lot of people want to see him break out and they want to see him join a group, but I'm wondering if they could play it in a different direction. I'm not saying it's going to happen in this direction, but I certainly think the writers could give that as a valid theory of this guy always wanted a family. He got caught up in the moment and got caught up in a lot more than that. Had a psychological condition that always needed to be dominating and controlling, and something snapped. Sebastian Carpio says, no, old habits die hard. So I'm going to go very real for you guys just for a minute. Once again, I'm not giving my personal thoughts, my personal theories, and definitely if any of you have ever been involved in a tragic situation, I'm not trying to rehash any of that. I'm just giving from a psychological standpoint, merely a psychological standpoint. So, and a lot of you are going to disagree with this, but people who have committed serious crimes at, let's say, 17, 18, 19, in many cases, they have been locked up for 20 or 30 years, and I know it's a huge, huge moral debate of, and even a philosophical debate of where people stand on this. But in many cases, they say that a person is a different person, let's say, when they're 50 than they are when they're 20. I think I could agree with that I'm much different than I was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, than I was when I was a teen, all of those things. So you still may have the moral fiber, but that starts to change. And could the show touch on that? Could they touch on not just the forgiveness of a person, but if a person is suffering from a condition, then are they justified? And this may be a deeper conversation for one of the random things. So I'm going to give you two more examples. One example is, and hold on tight here, one example is Phineas Gage. So Phineas Gage had a normal person, had a railroad spike that actually went through and damaged part of his brain. His behaviors changed. And through no fault of his own, he was a different person. Now, you can say, okay, that's an accident. And I'll give you that, it's an accident. There's another psychological study done on a woman who was, she was in her early 30s, and she was very by the book, did everything, kind of, you know, as pure as the snow. No issues, no baggage whatsoever. And I'm not judging here. I'm not saying people that are the opposite of this have baggage. So don't throw me under the bus here. But her behavior changed all of a sudden. Within the next year, she started very promiscuous, was out there, a lot of clubs, had a lot of situations, a lot of things that were different in her life. They found out that she had a tumor in her brain, and it had changed her behavior. So I'm just giving you those three examples. You know, a person that does something at 18 or 19, and then they're 30 years older. You know, a person that has a serious accident, and then a person that has something outside of their control. So Negan definitely may not fall into any of those things. But he might have. And there could be conditions affecting his behavior. And if there are conditions affecting his behavior and it's not free will, does it open the door a little bit that his behavior could be maybe not justified, but at least explained and understood? That's the question I have for the group. So let me know. Those 3 examples, I know they're pretty deep examples. Maybe you were like, wow, I didn't know we were going to talk about this on a Sunday morning at 12 o'clock. I just wanted to know, who is the baby's daddy? But we're going a little step further. So Susan Holmes says, medical issues, possibly. He went Terminator. You know, Miss Drew says maybe. I'm not speculating that Negan has brain cancer. But when we see this picture of Negan with a flannel shirt and a t-shirt and no scarf around his neck or no handkerchief and no leather jacket, he looks nice as hell, doesn't he? I mean, does he not look like, if you did not know Negan and you did not know the history of Negan and you were Georgie from the Commonwealth and you walked up in this garden and this dude right here says, "Good morning, sweetheart. Want to come pick some strawberries?" Would you not want to go over and give this man a hug? I'm going to read a few of the responses. He looks nice. He looks like somebody that I'd want to grow a garden with. Scott says Carl's living in a cloud. You know what? Carl's dreams are coming true. To quote Daryl Hall and John Oates, "You make my dreams come true." Ooh, ooh. I mean, Eugene is back. I mean, Rick even said, "You think we're going to pick strawberries with Negan?" Maybe. It looks like they might be picking some strawberries. Who would have thought that Negan would get to a prisoner status? Cindy Lovelace says, "Negan's never going to change." The devil in sheep's clothes will always still be the devil. Wilson says, "Negan looks like Daddy Daycare in that." He does. Scott, I disagree. Everybody didn't think that. When the spoilers, you know, here's the thing I'll say with that. When spoilers come out, because we can go back and if you want a basis for that argument, let's go back to last May when we started doing, and we'll do them again this May. Last year we started doing week by week predictions of the show. And I would say there were some comic fans that predicted that. The majority of my audience said Negan would die. Overwhelmingly, the majority of the audience said Negan would die, because at that point, there was no saving him. There was no how he felt about Carl and a little bit of the softer side of Negan they started to show. But I would say, if I had to estimate, just on the 999 Army, I would say 70 to 75% of our viewers thought that they would change the comic arc and that they would kill Negan. So it's kind of like the argument for common sense. There's no such thing as common sense. And in fact, whenever you discover that there's a correlation between two things, that's when people say, "Oh, well, that's common sense," because we make connections to things that we thought that we felt it all along. Exactly, and no one thought they would kill Carl. So, you know, they kill one character, they save another character, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the whole thing with Glenn and Abraham is they thought that Glenn would die, but they didn't know Abraham was going to die. And then people thought Abraham would be around for the war. And then, you know, afterwards, after we've been talking about spoilers for a year, people say, oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. I knew they were going to kill Glenn and Abraham. But very few percentage of the population really thought they were going to kill Glenn and Abraham. Marion DeLonzo says, I still think they should have killed Negan. You know, and I would say at this point, Marion, some people thought that they should kill Tara. And when they didn't kill Tara, we realized, okay, she's safe. She's got a story. And it's the same thing with Negan. Now you know that Negan did not die in the finale. They ain't killing him. It ain't happening. He's a part of the story going forward. How silly would that be that they save Negan, they lock him up, Maggie sneaks over in the middle of the night, season 9, episode 1, and cuts the rest of his throat. It ain't going to happen. So at this point, whether we like it or we don't like it, we're kind of forced to accept that he's going to be part of the show. And, you know, back to kind of Emmy's point. They made us feel for Negan near the end. Kel said the same thing. There were moments in the show when it started to turn. So I'm going to throw this question out to the group. And if you don't, and, you know, like Marion, I respect your opinion. You say, no, he should still be dead. But I'm going to ask the group, at what point, if you did you start to feel a little bit of sympathy, empathy, or acceptance for Negan? At what point in the show? And if you didn't, if you still like, nope, no way, you know, there's no chance for this man, then go ahead and type that as well. But I'm just kind of curious of if there was a turning point. So Backfire says, when he looked sad right before his throat was cut. That, you know what? That is a deep, deep analysis right there. I agree with that. I think that moment said a lot. It was almost as if he was ready to work out a deal. Absolutely. Suzanne, I feel the same way. Understanding, but it's hard to get over the Glenn and the Abraham when he was just relishing in it. And those of you that have seen my previous streams, you know how I feel about that scene. So Cindy says, when he was talking to Father G about his wife, couldn't put her down. Ron says, when he cared and was hurt by Carl's death. Kelly says when Carl was talking to him just before. Karen S. says when he met Judith. Kel says during his speech to Simon. When Negan was teary-eyed. All right, so here, do you guys know what I just did by asking that question? Is instead of me pointing out about 10 different bullet points of what the writers did, Scott Kernan says when he confessed, I really wanted to see which moment you zoomed in on. And many of you probably didn't realize that there were so many moments that they manipulated us, that they did that to start to change our viewpoint of Negan. Even the dream, right? I don't know if anyone mentioned the flashback that's up on the screen right now, but Carl's vision of Negan as well. So all of those things sort of coupled together did start to desensitize the audience toward the Glenn and Abraham scene, which I told you guys many times. They overdid it. They very much overdid it. They should have never killed Glenn in that scene. They should have just killed Abraham and then killed Glenn later on if they were going to kill Glenn. But it was pressure from the comic fans. They had to do it a certain way. Had to be that epic scene. But I think it made him way too violent. That they had to overdo the writing this past season in order to get it there. So the really underlying theme of this video is, once again, and this is why I wanted to have an alternative theory, is Negan in a father role could further, or Negan in a role where he had a disability or something, could further justify his freedom versus a bigger enemy. So the question I'm going to ask the group at this point as a follow-up: if Negan is locked up and you've got a bigger enemy, and I know Kel Says Smile, one of the moderators, brought this up many, many months ago. Negan's locked up and you need another hand, and it's a worse enemy than Negan. Do you or do you not let him help you if it is life and death? Now hang on, you've already made the decision to keep him alive. He's locked up. So you can't go back and say, no, I got him locked up, I'm going to kill him. Now that he's officially in prison, do you unlock that door and say, here, you need to go help us fight and prove yourself? Backfire says, no, I would not let him help me. I may feel for him, but I don't trust him. Sebastian says, no. Marion says, how could they trust him not to stab him in the back? And I guess that's the point, is that I do think there's going to be some trust established. Not a lot. But I do think that the challenge of the writers this season is going to be there was hatred, and then there is understanding. You don't have to like it, but people are starting to understand it. And then we're somewhere between maybe understanding and, don't want to use the word sympathy, but maybe a need. I'd say there's hatred, there's understanding, there's a need, and then there will be proof of trust. And I'm not talking about complicit trust. I'm talking about you can put him out in a field and keep an eye on him. Let me go back. The writers have already done this. And they've already done this to us. Remember how the group was split when they brought the workers back? The workers, some of them killed, but they had them locked in a cage. And some people did not trust any of the workers. Some people wanted all the workers killed. And now you've got some of the workers actually helping. Like Alden, for example. So, if the writers can do it for Gregory, for Alden, for some of the other people, and I do think that scene with Rick and Morgan is very important. That Rick did not satisfy his bloodlust. And he knows killing Negan will not satisfy that either. So, last question for the group. And this is going to be a much, much deeper question than the other ones before. So I need everybody just to zoom in on this. And if you're watching the playback, leave it in the comments. Because this is going to be the finale. What is more rewarding for Rick at this point? To kill Negan or to change Negan and have Negan as an ally that is actually trying to make the world better for Carl? What would be a bigger accomplishment? And I know we don't see that as a possibility, but would that not be the ultimate victory over Negan and over the world, is to go back and say, this man was a killer. This man was changing the shape of the world, and he is a model citizen at this point. Don't have to agree with it. It's just a deeper concept. I'm not saying I agree with it either, because, you know, we all have our personal bias as well, and we all, you know, there's things. But I'm just saying, to change Negan and to make Negan into something that actually saved people's lives would be an unbelievable accomplishment. And I don't know if the writers can do that. It's going to be extremely hard for the writers to do that. It takes a deeper story. It takes a more hated enemy. It takes a different world. It takes a bigger threat. It takes time. So a time skip would help with that. An understanding would help with that. Another enemy would help with that. So I do see the directions that the writing is going to take. I want to ask everybody to do me just a couple favors here. We got a lot of people watching, the playback. If you guys could slap the like button, give this video a like, share it, talk about it. We do this every week on Sunday at noon. It's just a little past, present, and future. We talk about deeper topics with The Walking Dead. So it's kind of like our reality television show. Tonight at 8 o'clock, we will do a Fear the Walking Dead countdown. There will be spoilers included in that, so make sure that you get out there and hang out with us. It's our Sunday night countdown every time. And then, of course, we will do at 11:20 tonight after Talking Dead, we will do our Fear reaction video. A lot of fun with that. Really hyped up about some things that are going on. But hold on. It doesn't stop there. I got several announcements for you guys. I'm pretty excited about this. As you saw in a previous stream we did, you can see over on the left side of the screen, now available 999 gear. We started out with a 999 Army shirt. Today we added a 999 mug. So if you're a coffee drinker, Coffee with Kills, you can check that out. We will be adding one new piece of merchandise every week. So I know it'll get into gaming. It'll get into some other things that we're going to be doing. Some random things. I got so many things going on. They're all merging together. So that is my segue. You can also see on the screen, Tuesday night will be our official Season 2, Episode 1 Random Things debut. If you like the fact that we go off in different directions, we will have some topics. There are going to be some current events. There will be sports. There will be music. There will be The Walking Dead. There will be television shows. So I can't tell you all the topics. We may post one of them, but there's going to be 5 or 6 topics that we just kind of get into and talk about every week. It's been a lot of fun for me to do that. We were all over the place the first season, and I don't know how many episodes we did, but we're probably going to do either 12 or 16 this season, and it's going to keep us going through the off season. And last, but definitely not least, I have to make this announcement. In May, that is within a couple of weeks, we're going to start the 999 Game of Thrones official podcast. So we're going to be talking about Game of Thrones. If you haven't watched it, go back and catch up, get some episodes. It is going to be Game of Thrones news, stuff, spoilers, sneak peeks, actors, all of that stuff. But we are officially going to start talking Game of Thrones, so we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So all throughout the week, just to give you a quick update, we've got Mondays will be Walking Dead recap. Tuesdays will be random things. Wednesday, we're going to be doing the bold predictions. Probably Thursday is the day that we're going to be doing our Game of Thrones chat. And just a lot of stuff to keep this group together. So I told you earlier that the season finale is not the end of what we do at 999 Gaming and the 999 Army. It is just the beginning. You know what? Packing, I was not a Game of Thrones fan either, but I binge watched it. And I am a huge, huge fan. So having a lot of fun with that. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate starting your Sunday here. We will be back at 8 o'clock tonight. Looking forward to seeing everybody for the Fear the Walking Dead countdown. And don't forget, we are going to be still talking The Walking Dead all throughout the year as well, too. And also, in late May, we're going to start our Walking Dead Season 9 episode-by-episode predictions as well. That was a lot of fun last year. We were right on a good portion of it. We were dead wrong on a few of them too, but that's the fun, is being right, being wrong, and just talking about it all throughout the season. Thanks, everybody. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will be doing shout-outs. Let's do some shout-outs right now. Fear. Eurus21 wants to know about Fear. 8 o'clock tonight will be Fear. 11:15 tonight will be Fear, and Monday night will be Fear. So we're going to give you 3 Fear episodes right there, Eurus. So give me a quick 9 and 9 so I can do some shout-outs, and we will wind this stream down. I want to say thank you to Beth Burgett, Michelle M., Backfire3851. Who else we got? My moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kel, thank you so much for everything that you guys do. Janet Person, Raiden Roach. What's up, Raiden? Susan Holmes, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate you having a blast, and appreciate you help making it a blast as well. Maurice Gamble, thank you so much for being here. Family shout out, yes. Shout out to Jill, also to little Tommy. White Silence, shout out to you. Wilson, shout out to all my patrons you can see up in the top right corner. Also my sponsors, Wilson, Pete D, Vonda, The Walking Dead Nerd, 13, Jason the Mixologist. So many awesome people here. Rubelo's channel, Hippo in the House, Kelly Golonzinier, Karen S., Charlie Howroyd, Ron Burgundy, Sensational, Haiti Badoon, Sebastian Carpio, Melinda Kettler, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gina Crockett. Appreciate all the hearts as well. Corey Whittington, thanks so much, Corey. Peace. Appreciate you being here. And you guys also know, and if you're interested in the gear, the shirt, and the mug, there is a link in the description below. Kel, can you post a link as well, just for some people hanging out here so they see? It is 999gear.threadless.com. And we're going to be adding a whole ton of merchandise, but I don't want to overload people in the beginning. We're starting out with 999 Army gear, and then we'll add a whole bunch of other stuff in the future. People are requesting t-shirt, some tank tops, and some other things. DDA Ohio, thanks for being here as well. BK Harp, thank you. Marion Delonzo. Mitch True, thank you so much. All right, everybody. If I missed you in a shout-out once this video goes live, leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see everybody at 8 o'clock tonight. We will talk fear. I'm sure there's going to be some other Walking Dead topics that jump in there as well. Thank you so much, everybody. See you. Peace.